Elizabeth was living a life that from the outside looked absolutely perfect. Married, beautiful house, hitting all the milestones you're supposed to achieve in life. But on the inside, she was crumbling. Everything felt oppressive, and she felt like she was trapped in her very carefully built life. Everything that she felt she was supposed to do ended up suffocating her. Night after night, after putting on the show, after being out in front of everybody and smiling and nodding, she would crawl up on the bathroom floor crying and sobbing, realizing that the version of herself she had created to present to the world was destroying her soul. So after worrying and fretting and trying again and again, she finally decided to throw it away, to stop pretending to step into authenticity. And she gave up the house and the cars and the marriage and the trappings to find herself. And she went on an adventure. She went on an adventure to meet her soul, to meet her soul's desire. She stepped out of the shadows of obligation and shoulds and stepped into the truth of who she really was. She traveled through Italy. She traveled through India. She traveled through Indonesia. And eventually, she found her heart, her soul, her purpose on this planet. And she wrote a book that we all know or have heard of, Eat, Pray, Love. Elizabeth Gilbert had to break through the mask of her life to find what she was really here to be and really here to do. She later reflected on this and said this about it: your fear will always be triggered by your creativity, because creativity asks us to enter into the realms of uncertain outcomes. And that's why I asked Misa to sing that song. It's about everybody says what we should be doing. Everybody has an opinion about what we should wear, how we should act, what we should do in our jobs, how things are supposed to go. And it can be exhausting to meet society's expectations for our gender, for our age, for our social status, for our race. That's what we're supposed to be so we can fit in and succeed. But when we can let go of that mask we sometimes have taken on, we get to experience something different. And I wrote about it this way: when the mask becomes too heavy, when the life you have created no longer fits, your soul is inviting you into something bigger, something truer, something more radiant. Because we all make decisions from the time we're little, from the time we're even younger than those kids who were just standing on platform with us. We make decisions about how to get our needs met by being a certain way, by being what our society, what our parents, what our teachers expect of us. And that sometimes gets translated into our adult lives. And we're operating on choices we made to survive and to thrive in childhood. But a child's choices may not work for us at 80. From 8 to 80 is a huge gap where we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So what if we crack it all open? What if we say that I'm really here for something bigger than I could imagine when I was young, whether it's 8 or 28, and find out what we're here for today. Today we're here to explore what it means to come out of the shadows. What it means to stop hiding behind the persona of, oh, I'm Reverend Ken, I'm the minister here, I have to act a certain way in a ministerial way, or I have to be bigger than I want to be. For those of us who aren't extroverts, that is not me in case you didn't notice. Definitely extroverted. But I really love my friends who are introverted and whose quietness and serenity has such depth and power that I want more of it. And yet, society will often tell them, speak up, sing out, Louise, right? And also from that show. No, a different show, but different. Yeah, but same one. Anyway, I digress. I'll get back on point. So what is it? What is it that you're really here to be? And I say that purposely because the world has enough doers. A Howard Thurman quote, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. What makes you come alive? What makes you light up? And what is so pulling at your soul, at your heart, at your very essence that you can no longer ignore? 8 or 80, you can no longer ignore it. How you must be in the world. Most people live lives of quiet desperation, never daring to follow the call of their own souls. Slightly modernized version, because Henry David Thoreau used only male pronouns in his quotes. Right? But today we can look at it as from a more inclusive possibility. And did you know that unity started out of the Transcendentalist movement and Thoreau and Emerson, and that idea that the divine exists in each and every one of us and in each and everything. Everything on the planet has that spark of divine life, that divine God energy. And so when we can understand that call to do something, to be something greater than we are currently showing up as, is God pulling at us from within us. Get that? There's not the God up there in the sky. There's not a deity sitting out there saying, hey, come on, come on. It's the God within you wanting to come out, the light within you wanting to burst out from the shadows, the shell, the containment of the masks we have put on to succeed or survive, and be fully the light, the divine light that we are. It was really easy to say it to the kids, right? You are God's perfect expression of divine life. But what when I say it to you? You are God's perfect expression of divine life. And your playing small isn't helping. Step up, cast off the mask, cast off the pretending who you think you're here to be, and be radiant, powerful, angry, excited, bored. I'm so bored with life as it is because it is not answering the big questions. You can be bored with life because it is the same old, because everybody's playing a limited role rather than being their whole selves. I promise you, if everyone in this room and everyone in the sound of my voice were to live who they really are, no one would find it boring. Infuriating maybe, but no one would find it boring. Right? Because we would have all come to life in ways that upset the apple cart. And yet we stand here today, and I engage in conversations on a daily, weekly, monthly basis about how bad things are out there in the world, how horrible the homeless situation is, how horrible it is what's going on with immigration, how horrible it is that DEI is being sidelined by our government, how horrible it is what's going on in Washington, D.C., and in the wars around the world. And yet we keep doing the same thing day after day after day and expecting the results to be different. The unity teaching is that it does not happen on the outside, folks. Life happens from the inside out. It's not happening to us, it's happening from us. And that's the difficult part about the unity teaching. It requires us to step up. But we're not the first ones to do this. We are not even close to the first ones to have this idea. This is an ancient spiritual teaching. It is a teaching that every spiritual leader and every spiritual guru and every spiritual nobody knows. Here's a partial list. St. Francis of Assisi, right? He was a wealthy merchant's son, living for status and social acceptance until an injury and a war shifted his whole life, and he gave it all away. He abandoned his life to live in radical simplicity. And he represents an archetype for us, right? The renunciate, the one who says, I am done with all of this, goes away and lives on the mountaintop, goes and does service for the poor. Mother Teresa could also fit into this, right? The Buddha would also fit in this. He was a prince, left his wife and family to go sit under the tree until he reached enlightenment, gave up everything so that he could become what he was really here to be. St. Francis, Mother Teresa, the Buddha all represent that archetype that may be calling you to say, enough of the status, enough of the same old, what am I really here to do? Thomas Merton, intellectual, right? Star to the contemplative groups of New York society, known for his words, brilliant, gave it all up because everything he achieved, all the success, all the things he thought would make him happy, left him feeling the longing for what his soul was truly after. And the archetype is the seeker. The seeker who is so disappointed at every turn when they try and do the world's things, when they try and achieve worldly success, that they have to leave it all behind and seek the deeper meaning underneath the success of life. The seeker is someone whose passion for God, Spirit, and for humanity cannot be contained to a human role that the world has set up. And I know, because I've spoken to many of you, that many of you are those. You're seekers. Byron Katie, who I had the pleasure of sitting with for 9 days doing the work with Byron Katie. It was life transformative. For those of you who don't know who Byron Katie is, she wrote a book called The Work, where she has the work of Byron Katie, and it's like her work is amazing. The title of her book is Loving What Is. And as a good friend of mine always says, I can't love what is, I can barely tolerate it some days. But this is what happened to Katie. She had a life she's called the Mystic of Modesto. She had a life in Modesto, California, where it seemed okay on the outside, but she was struggling with depression and pain and feelings of unworthiness until it all fell apart. And in rehab, she found herself literally again on the bathroom floor, sobbing. And that's where she received her spiritual awakening. She had this awakening, this voice that came and told her to question everything, to question everything. So the work of Byron Katie is to ask 4 questions. Is it true? Is it absolutely true? Who am I when I believe it's true? And who would I be without the belief that it's true? Question everything. And from that, she reinvented herself totally. And she represents the archetype of the phoenix, purposefully throwing themselves into the fire, letting their outer shell, their mask, be destroyed so that something greater can arise. That's an amazing archetype that we can follow. Nelson Mandela, an angry activist, imprisoned for 27 years, where he found his spiritual awakening. And he found the truth that to hold anger only corrupts one's own soul. And from his own wounds, he created the consciousness that could heal a nation, that could heal a whole group of people who desperately needed a healing. And the archetype is the wounded healer. The wounded healer is the archetype of, my wounds do not define me, but they give me empathy. They give me connection to the human. So because I know that my wound has healed, I can be there for you and know for you that your wound will heal. This is also represented by so many saints and Jesus himself, right? This idea of the wounded healer crosses all cultures and all religions. But they understand that, yes, you cannot get through this life without the scrapes, the bruises, the cuts, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And when we acknowledge that and allow ourselves to heal, we move on to the next. And this woman, Glennon Doyle, how many people know about her? I just recently actually have discovered her. She represents the good girl to the truth teller. How many people identify with that? The good girl to the truth teller, letting it all go, right? And she was the perfect suburban mom while secretly battling addiction and bulimia and shame. Shame, that toxic shame that when you think, oh, I just didn't do something wrong. There's something wrong with me. That is what she overcame. And she let it all go. She divorced the abusive husband. She created a new life. She healed herself. And she is the archetype of the rebel prophet, the biker prophet, the one who has wisdom but will not play by society's roles. Someone who breaks convention. And I wouldn't know anything about that with my blue hair and my nails and this shirt as a minister. But I have to tell you that breaking convention is the only reason I knew I could do this job. When I realized one day I didn't have to be like all the others to be effective. In fact, I needed to be like me to be effective. And that's not what they teach you in ministerial school, folks. I'm sorry to say that our whole system, even how we train the people who are supposed to lead us through this thing called life, plays by the rules too much, because they have a formula that this is how it's supposed to go, and this is what you're supposed to look like and talk like, and you're supposed to come up here and you're supposed to quote Charles Fillmore, and you're supposed to quote Jesus, and you're supposed to do this and that's how a service works, and you'll be successful. Well, no, I'm going to curse. BS, right? BS. What makes us successful is when we are real, authentic, and true to ourselves. And Glennon has a quote that I think is just spot on. Your job throughout your entire life is to disappoint as many people as you can to avoid disappointing yourself, right? Your job, do you get that? Your job in this life is to disappoint people right and left so that you don't disappoint you. so that you can stand up on any day of the week and say, this is who I am, freckles, flaws, and all, and know that I am beautiful, I am purposeful, I am meant to be here for the healing of the planet. That's what coming out of the shadows and into the life is all about. Underneath what this mask we all wear is something deeper, something greater, waiting to rise up. The sacred discomfort that you feel is because you are pressing the edge of the envelope, right? You're pressing the edge of the envelope, and it means you need to be real, absolutely real. You have to be excruciatingly real. When I was contemplating this talk, this idea came to me, and it is 2 moments of my life that were to my knees, sobbing. 2 times this has happened to me in my adult life, where my legs couldn't even support me. The first was the death of my lover. I got a phone call about his body had been found. And I just started screaming and crying, and I was in a puddle on the floor. So much so, it was in New York City that the neighbors came to find out what was going on. And the second was when I got the phone call that my 17-year-old nephew had committed suicide, had shot himself. And in front of my children, I was on the floor of our kitchen sobbing. Now, I know I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who has ever experienced that. I am sure that on some level, everyone within the sound of my voice has. But for me, that was so amazing to go through both of those, and at both funerals to be able to stand up and to talk to people. And my nephew, I actually led the service, crying the whole time, but I still was able to speak and lead the service because I was willing to let all the facade go, even for a moment, to let the keeping it together part of ours go. We don't have to hold it all together all the time. We don't have to look good and have it in the perfect words to be worthy, to be valuable. In fact, the opposite is true. You are more valuable when you're real. You are more successful when you're authentic. You are more purposeful when you're yourself. Then, life is lived from the inside out. When we allow that to percolate, to steep, to bubble up from within us, we create that on the outside. One of the boldest and bravest things that you can do is to show your whole authentic self. So, what's it for you? What's the difference between how you've been showing up and what you really want to show up as? What's the difference in your life? Have you been sharing from a place of, oh, it's all good? You know, that smile? How's your week been? Oh, it's good. You know, you can see people's faces when they crack like that. It's like, how is the job, really? Is it soul suffocating? Is your work on this life slowly killing you? Whether it's volunteer work or whether it's your job to pay the bills. Is it suffocating your soul? No, there's lots of different ways to navigate that. There's lots of different ways because we all have bills to pay. Even mystics have bills to pay. The Buddha was a wealthy prince, right? So we all have to navigate the world, but we don't have to do it like a cookie cutter. Your bold, authentic self is what will make you more successful, actually more successful than playing by the rules. Be the rebel prophet. Be the rebel trying to succeed and let that go. Be the rebel willing to tell truth to power. Because that's how you manifest in this world. Unapologetically being authentic. And manifestation, I'm going to be really clear here. Manifestation, as I talk about it and as I teach it, isn't about getting more stuff. You may want more stuff. That's great. But stuff will rot. Stuff comes with more bills. Stuff comes with more obligations. What manifestation is about is becoming who you were born to be. And then all of that other stuff will figure itself out. Because it isn't about getting the Lexus or the Tesla. Because look, if you bought a Tesla, and how do you feel about it right now, right? There's whole articles all over the internet about Tesla regret, right? It's absurd. It's not about the car. It's not about the status symbol. It's about your soul being seen. So back to the kids. You are already enough. There's nothing you need do to earn the seat. There's nothing you need to do to earn your place on this planet. Some sperm and some egg came together, and the odds of them forming a human being are 1 in a trillion, right? You know how many eggs and sperm don't meet? Billions. But yours did. And made this miracle that I see sitting in front of me and that I know is listening to me right now. This miracle of life has happened. It is not by some random accident. It is a true divine appointment. And you are here to be the unique presence with the unique abilities and especially the special situations and occurrences and position of your life. Because from that comes your unique and unqualified wisdom. And your wisdom is what the world needs. Your experience, your perspective, your vision, your calling. And once again, your playing small doesn't help yourself or anyone else. You are safe. You are here by divine appointment. So let yourself be seen. Let yourself be fully seen.